Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems known.
Good day and welcome back to my channel. This is a first in what will probably be a short series of putting together a 1/60 scale Catapult Battlemech. Now this is a Catapult from FCY BattleMech kits, and this is a resin cast kit. This is not a print, and I do have an unboxing of this. I've picked up quite a few of his kits, and they're just freaking amazing. So I'm going to put a link down below to the unboxing I've done of this one. But I'm actually going to put this one together. Now, normally I would do a whole lot of custom work on this, but this one's going to be for someone else. And I kind of want to stick true to what they had. So I'm going to kind of keep the customization down to the paint and the assembly kind of thing. So, and also what I do is a little more than, what just putting one of these kits together is like. So I think this makes a better series, or build and put together series. And I've done a ton of unboxing of FCY mechs, and like I said, I love them. And this will actually be one where I actually go through the putting together of them. And so where we are right now is I've just started. I've pretty much just begun. The first thing I did was some cleanup, right? So there was a bit of seam cleanup to do on the various parts, but there's not much. And that's one of the wonderful things about his work. So you can just kind of make it out there. Still got a little more sanding to do there. But the seams are usually in places that are either hidden or they're along edges, right? So your cleanup is minimal. And depending on how you do it, so I've got a little more cleanup to do here and a little more to do here. But depending on how you're putting together the mech and what you're going to do with it, your cleanup actually could become, battle damage, or however you want to treat it. But I've gotten the preliminary assemblies put together. So the first thing I did was started with the feet. So in this kit, you have the shin and the foot, and this is a bird walker. And so they go in together, and the nice thing about the way his are done is they are posable. They're very posable. So, that's how the joint works, right? And so it can go anywhere from straight to completely bent over. Now, this one can also could have been put like straight up and down, or canted way back. So if you want to do this really cool dynamic pose, you could do, have this bent like this and have that one bent like this. And then you have to fiddle around how you've got the feet going. And this one's going to be basically just a static standing pose. And I think what I may do is like a little small diorama with the pilot actually sitting outside. I haven't figured that out yet, but we'll get there. So the first thing I did was I put the pieces together, and you can just barely see a hint. Let me get a little more light over there. A hint of green stuff in there. And I did not pin these. I didn't think it was really necessary. CA glue and green stuff onto this, and it works just fine. So I put those together, and I made sure they were equivalent, right? So that they were sitting equal, because like I said, this is going to be straight up and down static. So now the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that the upper legs are at the same angle. So I could make it standing straight up, right? So I could do that. But I think it kind of looks a little silly. It doesn't quite look Catapult-esque. So I think what I'm going to do, now I could also do way over here, which would shrink the thing way down a bit, right? So the center of gravity would be like right over there. I think what I may end up doing is just like that angle, right? So to do that, I need to make the decision. It's like, Bob Ross. Need a big decision time, big decision time. Where's that happy little tree go? Need to figure out what the angle is going to be. And whatever angle it is, again, because of the fact that these are going to be parallel, I need to identify it. So the next step for me is to drill pin. This one I'll pin. I may not need to, right? Because between the way these are put together with CA and green stuff, that would probably work just fine. But because it's going to be at an angle and we're going to have this thing, the joint's actually going to be in shear. For you engineer types, you'll get what I mean. But this you have a lot of the weight pushing down. You don't have a lot of it trying to bend it. Even though you're going to be pushing down at this weight, you're going to have a lot of the force going straight along here. This, however, the way this is set, it'll just be better if it's pinned. So what I need to do is locate a spot here and locate the same spot on the next one, drop in a pin, which is really going to be nothing more than a paper clip. I'm going to take one of the larger paper clips and just stick that in there, and then use that to mark where this goes. Right, so then I will find the spot here that marks it, and I'll then measure here to put the same mark over here. So I will have measured these parts to put the pin in there, measured the receiving hole here, so that all I need to do is just slip it on and it will be the same whether it's this side or that side. So that's the next step I need to do for the legs. I am still on the fence, but I think I will do the legs this much. I will take the legs this far, so I will get them finished up to the hip joint, and then I'm setting them aside. I'll talk about why in a minute. So I've got the hip. I'm going to leave the hip separate. Again, talk about why in a minute. I have put the main body together. I have to go back and fill a little bit more here around this seam. But you can see that was really all the fill I needed to do. Now that that's done, I can set this aside. And then I've also done the shoulders, right? So you can see the shoulder pieces are designed such that they just set in like that. And then I can pick whatever angle I want them to go in, right? And it's a ball joint, so if I want to kind of cantilever them out a little bit, and interestingly, that gives character, right? So these, funny, these act kind of like ears. You know when a dog looks at you and their ears kind of do the little question-y thing? You can use these to give a bit of a dynamic pose to the way this looks, just by having them straight up and down, having them cantilevered out, having them canted up or down. It actually gives a bit of dynamic view to the overall look, and it kind of adds some character. So that's kind of cool that this is on a sort of a ball and socket joint, so you have some of that flexibility. I will probably go with something just a little bit, instead of straight up and down, just a little bit canted out, and definitely up and down because, catapult. So this part's done. Working on the shoulders, I filled the seam. This is probably the worst seam of the entire kit. So this seam that for the missile pods is probably the worst seam. And you only have to worry about it on the top and back, because this part covers the underside and this part covers the front. So honestly, if I really wanted to, I could drop just a piece of sheet styrene right down the middle, and that would even look not bad. It would cover it up, and it would just look, I could put a piece of sheet styrene there, maybe a little detail there. I'm actually seriously thinking about doing that just to cover that up. But filling it also isn't that big a deal either. So you can see I already did it once. Got to go back and get some of this. I used the Vallejo plastic putty. I like this. I'm not really a fan of using it too much, and this is actually too much. This stuff is sort of rubbery. Even when it dries, it's still soft. It doesn't dry hard. It's not like some of the other modeling putties that we get. So but it works for what I'm after. So we'll go with it. So anyway, there's these two. I've done both the shoulders, and these will go on last. These are the I could do it with the pieces or with the missile covers closed, but goodness, why? With all the internal and external detail, you might as well have them open. So now let's talk about why I'm going to leave them. I basically have them in the parts, with the exception of the legs, in the parts that I want them in. The reason being, I want to paint this. So this is where it's really relevant from my perspective. I can do almost 90% of the painting in this disassembled form. Here's why. The joints here for the hip, they're hidden. So this joint here, there's no seam to fill. So this will be an actual seam for the joint. So I can completely weather this and this separately, and that's a real joint. Same with this. I could put that on. I could put that on there, but then there's maybe some work under here I want to make look just right, or maybe some flow that I want off the top there. So if I keep this separate, I can fully weather and paint this, stick it on, and again, a real joint, a real seam, a real machine juncture joint, I guess, right? So again, there's no seam to fill and nothing extra that I need to fill there, so I can actually do that. And you can see where I'm going. Same with this. Real joint, the details right there, nothing to fill. And if I glue that on, I can't get to that. So paint this up, paint these up. I can do all this edging and stuff, get all the really cool weathering I want on this, then put it all together. And then again with these, I can just put them together at the end. So these are pretty much, these are the sub-assemblies. So these are the pre-paint sub-assemblies, and I'm going to start that. I said I'm going to do the legs, but even so, even if I didn't, right? So even if I decided, you know what, I want to do these separately too, I could, because again, when this goes on, there is nothing to fill. The pin will go in, there will be a little bit of green stuff that'll go here and here, and that'll go in, and there's nothing, you're not going to see it. So, these sub-assemblies are what you need now, or excuse me, what I need to paint. And this, I can actually get to all the parts very easily. And the actual assembly will be the last thing I have to do. So this is the benefit of the way Tim engineered these parts, right? This kit's engineered in such a way that you can do all the really cool work and actually get to the parts. Now, I'm also going to just, I'm just going to reiterate this, right? I want you to look at that nice smooth curve, the detail, and the smooth arc here. That's not a resin print. That is a resin casting. And the detail, the smoothness, the texture, the surface, I don't have to sand a whole lot of artifacts from a print out. I don't have little bumps from not really a sphere here. This is cast. This is nice. This is really smooth. And this is one of the beautiful things I love about the way FCY mechs are. These aren't resin prints. These are resin castings, and all of that, the artifacts of the layers from the fraction of a millimeter layers, they show, especially on something like this, right, on that arc or on that curve. He does some really nice work, and I'm really looking forward to getting this together for a friend of mine. So with that said, I will tap out for now. I'm going to go ahead and pretty much slide on into painting. I'll get the legs put together. I'm going to slide on into painting, and then I'll come back after I've gotten some work done. So until next time, I hope this is enjoyable. And like I said, if you get an opportunity to, if you're a Battletech fan, and really like the big scale stuff for yourself, then check out FCY. I'll have a link down below. Until later, happy modeling.
Reactor online. Sensors online.